So these are the AC tapes. This is me walking up and down a living room in Greece with the air conditioning on because it's so warm, and getting ready for my show, which starts on the 12th of August in Edinburgh, called Delivering the Impossible. Hoping I don't have my finger over the microphone there. I don't think I have my finger over the microphone. That's a new phone that I haven't used before. And what I've been doing is I've been drawing slips out of a hat. It's actually a tray that I've got subjects on. And here is the subject of pirate ship. And I talked about that last week, but I'm going to talk about it again because I think it's a really, really interesting subject. And it's also one where I bring up this idea of the connection between project management and improvisation. So in improvisation, so this is an example I give in the book, one of the crucial things in improvisation is something called blocking, which is, so imagine if I am improvising with somebody on the stage, let's call her Sarah, and Sarah mimes knocking on a door, and I open the door, and Sarah says, "I bought you a cabbage." Now, if I say to Sarah in response, "That's not a cabbage, it's a football," what I'm doing is I'm blocking. That's in the language of improvisation. I'm obstructing her. And this is something that you're not supposed to do in improvisation. The idea in improvisation is that you're supposed to say yes, and you're supposed to kind of amplify what the person who's improvising with you is saying. So if I say, "Sarah, you know that I hate brassicas, I'm allergic to them," then I'm not blocking her, I'm building. And then, of course, we've got some kind of relationship then, because does Sarah really know me that well? If she doesn't know me that well, why is she bringing me a cabbage? Is she trying to kill me? If I say, "Oh, that's lovely, I was thinking about making some kimchi," then again, like kind of, it's not that interesting yet, but it's kind of moving the story forward. So blocking is a bad idea. And the other example that I give in the book, which is kind of, trust me, this is going to come around to be related to project management eventually, is the other example that I give in the book is, imagine that, like, say, 4 improvisers are on a stage. And one of the things that's often asked for improvisers on a stage is they ask suggestions. They ask suggestions from the audience. And so they ask for a workplace, and somebody from the audience shouts, "The deck of a ship." So there are 4 people, and they're on the deck of a ship. And one of those people mimes putting a telescope to their eye and looks out on the horizon and says, "Oh, look, a pirate ship." Now, of course, remember what we just talked about, Sarah bringing us a cabbage. The thing to do if somebody spots a pirate ship is to deal with a pirate ship in some way. And what the audience want to see is maybe some comedy attempts to get ready for the pirates appearing. But then, in pretty short order, what they want to see is they want to see the pirate ship appear. And they want to see these poor 4 people who are on this ship deal with being attacked by a pirate ship. That's the promise that is in the audience's mind. And one of the big things that's in improvisation a lot of the time is, what is the thing that you've somehow already promised the audience that's in their mind, and how can you do that thing? And one of the best ways to do that is to not block and go with immediate suggestions. But one of the things that people could do in that kind of situation, one of the things that the 4 people who are improvising could do, is they could say, "Oh, we want the ship to be nice and clean when the pirates come. Let's clean the decks." Now, this sounds ridiculous. And from the point of view of the story, it is ridiculous. But it's the kind of thing that often learning improvisers, and sometimes quite experienced improvisers do. Sorry, I'm just going to have a sip of tea. Because if everybody starts to clean the decks, then they're doing something that looks like activity, but it doesn't actually move the story forward. And it makes all 4 of them feel safe, in inverted commas. They're not really doing anything. They're boring the audience, and the entire purpose of being on the stage is to not bore the audience. But they're doing something that feels safe. Now, why would they do that? Why would they do something that is not actually moving the story forward and doing something that feels safe? And the answer, of course, is because they're doing it out of fear. And the interesting thing about doing this out of fear and avoiding moving the story forward is that they don't have to have a meeting to do this. They just do it intuitively. And Keith Johnston, who's one writer on improvisation, there are a whole bunch of different people written about improvisation, but he's somebody who came at improvisation from a British point of view in the 50s and then moved to Canada. Wrote a couple of books, Impro and Impro for Storytellers, which are very good books. Keith Johnston calls this agreed activity. This is something that you're doing that looks like activity. It's being kind of agreed by everybody on the team, but it's not actually moving the story forward. And the thing that it's absolutely not doing is tackling the pirate ship that's on the horizon. And so I make this a first chapter in my book. Basically, my book is called Delivering the Impossible, and the argument of the book is that if you can see things in different ways, then you can improve your chances of being successful with the projects that you're working on. And so one of the most straightforward ways that you can make a project successful is to find those areas where the team have kind of sunk into an agreed activity and they're avoiding a pirate ship, and get them to tackle the pirate ship. Now, it's a very good question. Why would a team be tempted to go for the agreed activity rather than tackling the pirate ship, which in the kind of sphere of a project is very often it's some kind of big problem that needs to be dealt with in order for the project to be successful? Why would they do that? Why would they kind of come up with some kind of like detailed specification requirement they're writing, or some kind of particular bit of the software that's not connected to the big pirate ship thing? Why would they do that? Well, one answer is that intuitively, like the improvisers on stage, they're doing this out of fear. Now, it might be that there's nobody on this project or nobody connected with this project who's given them a hard time for pointing out pirate ships. It might be that nobody's given them a hard time for trying to point out the big things that this project needs to deal with. Or it might be that somebody has. If somebody has, they will immediately learn that, and they will never bother those people again with any kind of discussion of big, scary things that are on the horizon. But even if anybody hasn't, maybe they've got this experience from other projects, or just they have this intuition that it's easier to just not point out these big, scary things that are on the horizon. And so one of the easiest ways, but one of the kind of fundamental ways that you can give a project a better chance of success is by dealing with the pirate ships. Now, when Keith Johnston in his book Impro talks about this, he says that he talks about a format for an improvised show that has improvisers on the stage, but also has a director sitting next to the stage. And one of the purposes of the director is to spot these situations where the improvisers have got themselves into some agreed activity and just help them along, just say to them, deal with the pirate ship. What is the pirate ship? And so kind of like that is something that you have to think about. How can you do in your projects? How can you spot the pirate ships? The thing is, the team will know what those pirate ships are. They're probably getting mentioned in retrospectives. You can probably find out about them if you really want to. In just a couple of questions, you can find out what those things are that are really causing the project to struggle. So it's not that hard to find them. But if you've even raised an eyebrow or kind of changed your tone of voice or talked at all about kind of negativity and how you don't want to hear any of it, it may well be that your project has gone completely silent about any issues that were on the horizon, and that everybody involved in the project is just scrubbing the decks.